Welcome to the Rankings Report for December 4th, 2019. My name is John Morgan, Rankings Chair for MMA Junkie, gorgeous George Garcia. And listen, last week it was Thanksgiving, so we didn't have any fights really to look at, so there's no changes. So we thought, let's do something a little bit different. All right, let's take a look at this month ahead, what we've got going kind of all the way to the end of the year, all the way through December 31st. And I'll ask you, biggest fight that's on the radar. I mean, the one, we've got some top fights. You threw out some numbers. We got a ton of ranked fighters in action coming up in these next couple of weeks. So what's the biggest fight that's on the radar right now, that's on the schedule for December?
For me, it's got to be Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington. For one, it's for a world title. Two, Covington earned this spot. They have some heat, so, I mean, it ticks a lot of boxes for me. And waiting in the wings, hopefully, Gamebred Masvidal will be in attendance, because him versus Covington would be huge. I mean, these guys are former teammates, former roommates, and now all of a sudden things have spilled over. And, of course, if Masvidal were to fight Usman, that would be a big fight as well. I'm not making my prediction just yet. I'm just saying there's storylines. It's just a big spotlight right now in 170.
Yeah, no question about it. I should say, by the way, I specified to George before we start rolling, start with the men's division. So as we're looking at the men, I got to agree with you, to be honest with you. But there are some other big ones, of course, to pay attention to. Same card, Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski.
Oh, yeah.
Massive in that one. Not quite the heat behind it, you know what I mean? But certainly a big fight. And, of course, also on that same card, unbelievable, Marlon Moraes versus Jose Aldo. That's a big fight as well, even though it's kind of an interdivisional fight, if you will,
Right.
But listen, all right, how about the women's division? A lot of big women's fights up as well. What's the biggest one on the card for December?
All right, for the biggest one, again, I'm just one of those guys that loves the title fight. So, yeah, of course, Nunes versus Jermaine Durandamy. Jermaine Durandamy is a former world champion as well, has a great stand-up game, and I think her and Amanda Nunes is just going to – it's going to make for a spectacular finish, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I think Nunes is actually going to be tested. She's been steamrolling everybody, but I think in this case, she'll be tested. Now, that said, I think she'll win the fight, but I still think it'll be compelling at times. But waiting in the wings, we have Ketlin Vera, who's undefeated. She's been away for a while, but she's back in action against Irene Aldana, who's looked great as of late. So I love that matchup. And this week, which is 1 week prior to that one, we have Aspen Ladd and Yana Kunitskaya. So, again, it's like those four contenders are facing off against each other to see who can face the winner of GDR and Amanda Nunes. I think Vera, with the undefeated record, is in the pole position. Now, that said, John, my favorite division in WMMA is the strawweight. I just think it's deeper. And what we have is something very, very interesting. You have Marina Rodriguez and Sita Calvillo this week. Both fights are this week. And then Jan Doroba versus Souza is another one that I'm looking at. They're all ranked fighters, but they're all kind of like from the middle of the pack on down to the bottom. And what makes it interesting for me is there are four ladies, Weili Zhang, Jessica Andrade, Rose Namajunas, and Joanna, who are just, I mean, they're all going to fight each other a la Duran Leonard, back in the day, Hearns, and the other guy, Hagler. Those guys, they're going to fight each other for a long time because the UFC puts them in big pivotal fights. So the other ones have to make the most of this opportunity to get in that foursome. And don't forget Tatiana Suarez. Once that neck gets healed, she's undefeated, and I think she's going to cause havoc too. So very, very compelling there.
George, I just asked you what the biggest fight was.
I got carried away.
No, listen, I got to agree with you, though. Listen, Alimle McFarland is in action as well, so that's going to be a big fight there. So a lot of big women's fights. But you know what? I got to agree with your answer, to be honest with you. Amanda Nunes, to me right now, she's the women's GOAT. I think anytime she fights, it's a big event. And, of course, the matchup itself is exciting as well. So that's good. All right, here's a little and you touched on it a little bit. Let's start with the men again. Which division do you see changing the most between December 1st, December 31st, taking into account all the action that we've got lined up this month? Which division do you see having the most at stake and changing the most?
Featherweight, because featherweight has the title fight, and you have Volkanovski, who's no joke and can actually make a run at Max Holloway. And then Jose Aldo, what's going to happen when he fights Marlon Moraes? Of course, we have our policy where if you fight in another division, we remove you. However, we also take a step back and see, did you just do this out of panic because there's no place for you in your current division, therefore you're trying to dip your toe in the water and see where this other division has for you? If Moraes does a number on Aldo and Aldo doesn't want to retire, I have a feeling he'll go back to featherweight. So there's just a lot of things there to look at. Edgar's also stepping out and going down to bantamweight for the first time ever.
Yeah,
so
no question about it. Then you throw in Brian Ortega versus the Korean Zombie.
Yeah.
You got AJ McKee that's in action over in Bellator as well. So I think you're right. It's going to be that featherweight division. And I think I might know the answer here because you started touching on it a little bit, but how about in the women's divisions? Which one do you think is going to change the most over the course of this month?
Probably the bantamweights for the women because, again, I think you have a credible challenger in Jermaine Durandamy against Amanda Nunes. I still think Amanda Nunes comes out ahead, but that other foursome I talked about, someone's going to have to rise to the occasion. Again, Vera's in the pole position, but one of those other ladies could shine. I mean, look at Zabit Karamov. He looked great, and everybody says he's next. He just didn't have like that statement-type win, and I think that's what you need to have is a statement-type win. Otherwise, you run the risk of, even though you are positioned to be next, the UFC can look, or whatever promotion is looking to promote, they may look in another direction. So you have to have a statement win when you're in this position right now.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, well, like you said, there's a lot of fights. So give me one that's kind of maybe under the radar, one that we haven't touched on yet that you think might have a big impact or is just intriguing to you.
Well, you see Aljamain Sterling, he's got that big old scar on his forearm. Him and Peter Yan have been like neck and neck to see who might be next at Triple C. If Triple C goes in that direction to defend there. I think it should be Sterling. All right. Yan has been closing strong, but Yan took a fight against Uriah Faber. Uriah Faber just is one of those guys that rises to the occasion. 40-plus years or not, I mean, you got to look out for that. Jan's really rolling the dice here. But if Jan can look good against Uriah Faber, that might be what catapults him over Aljamain Sterling.
I like that, man. That's going to be a big fight. A lot of implications there. For me, I'm going to say Volkan Oezdemir versus Alexander Rakic,
yeah.
man. Listen, Volkan Oezdemir, of course, he's had some ups and some downs. I know he still wants to establish himself as a top contender, but for me, Rakic is kind of that dark horse, the guy that is streaking right now, looks very, very good, but doesn't kind of get in that top-level discussion, that upper echelon discussion. Man, if he's impressive on December 21st against Volkan Oezdemir, all of a sudden now he starts getting in that discussion.
He could be in Johnny Walker's spot. You know what I mean? And, of course, Walker was putting pressure on Corey Anderson, so that's where things get exciting there. And don't forget, Santos and Anthony Smith are going to vie to try and get another rematch at John Jones as well, so can't forget about that.
Big point there. All right, well, listen, it was slow last week, but that's not going to be the case. We just laid it out for you. There's a lot of big fights coming up in December. We'll talk about it every week on the Rankings Report.